Thank you very much. It's a labor of love, and there are nearly 100 people that share that sentiment that helped put this event on today, and so obviously too many to thank in person, but thank you guys very, very much. So, Tony mentioned earlier that we have a surprise close, and our closing act is a superstar in the making. If you don't know who Betty Who is today, you will 6 months from now. We guarantee it. And how do we know this? Because now we have the ability to predict the rise of music talent for the first time ever. For the past 2 years, a little company called Next Big Sound has been quietly amassing the data required to essentially make this happen. And 6 months ago, they reached critical mass. So as we're turning the set to get ready for Betty, I'm going to ask Alex White and Ethan Schiff to come out. Alex is the founder of Next Big Sound. Ethan is from New Torch Entertainment, which is Betty's business partner. We're going to talk for just a second about how this whole thing happened. So you guys want to just join me over here on this side of the stage while we're kind of getting organized, all right? And essentially, so just let me ask you, Alex, what is Next Big Sound?
So Next Big Sound tracks the online music activity of every band in the world. And our mission is to make that data actually useful by combining all the public social data for our clients, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Wikipedia, Tumblr, Instagram, with their private transactional numbers, so iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc., and help our clients and customers understand which social signals are leading indicators of their sales data and which marketing levers, concerts, press mentions, chart appearances actually reliably drive social and sales numbers.
So for those of you who have been interested in investing in the music business, I know one of our big clients right now is turning their sights to music. It is a space that lacks data. The music industry has been historically delinquent in understanding their audience, and you would think that we would have seen this data earlier. But in any event, we're going to just real quickly run through this slide, and I'm going to try to do it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, a year ago, April 2013, Betty Who's first record, The Movement, which is an EP, was released, and Next Big Sound started tracking it. Then something happened just about that time, which is that celebrity Tyler Oakley, who's a YouTube celebrity, who also worked on the Obamacare stuff, by the way, and also works, I believe, with Taco Bell, if I'm not mistaken. He basically promotes Betty Who as one of his favorite new pop acts in a video. You can see the spikes. Then 6 months later in September, this gentleman by the name of Spencer Stout decides that he wants to use the song Somebody Loves You when proposing to his partner, and the video goes viral, and they basically shot it in a flash mob in Home Depot, all right? We're going to check that out for a second. And then towards the end of the year, of course, we had growth, and now we have the release of her second record, which happened this year in April.
And what you're looking at is the daily number of YouTube views, Wikipedia page views, and Twitter followers, and it's interesting to note the various areas and the spikes that are caused in each of these things. And just 2 more points along the bottom of events. We charted Betty Who on our Next Big Sound branded chart that we licensed to Billboard magazine in May of 2013, so almost a year prior, and she signed with Sony RCA in November of last year.
Very cool. So let's flip to the next chart real quick. And so I guess if I'm getting this right, what this tells us is the data that you collected and that first chart now allows you to predict success for an artist like Betty Who. Is that right?
So that was looking back over the last year and the kind of key events and highlights, but really interesting is the forward-looking predictive element. So we've taken the 5 years of social and sales data that we have for over 70% of the music industry, and use that to predict success. So we could have put anything as defined success, so half a billion YouTube views, grossing $1 million in sales. In this case, we chose will make their first ever appearance in the Billboard 200 album chart. So this is kind of the daily score, Next Big Sound score of the likelihood that within 1 year from today, Betty Who will make an appearance on this Billboard chart for the first time.
And what happened?
And we watch as the score and the likelihood moves along, and I just want to applaud DigitasLBi for making a fearless choice in this. It'd be the easy route to choose a household name or someone that we all know, But many months ago when we had to make this decision, Betty Who was back at the beginning of her journey, and it was in the last month that she charted and hit #1 on iTunes Pop Chart.
Very cool. And by the way, we have a track record of being fortunate to have predict great talent. Jessie J, the British pop star's very first U.S. performance on this stage 4 years ago, the Digitas NewFront. And look what happened to her. She closed the Olympics last year. So Ethan, let me just ask you, as Betty Who's business partner, what are you doing with data like this? How does this help?
Yeah, well, it was really interesting because when we started the project, we didn't actively say this is going to be our target market and this is the plan for that. We basically spent all the time making the product phenomenal. And then from there, we just listened to the data and have really quickly changed things all the time just based on what the data is telling us.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we hired a team of data scientists from hedge funds and the NSA to really bake this together, and this is being used by the biggest music companies and research A&R teams, and it's only in the last 3 to 4 months that we've signed on our first brand and agency clients and bringing this data and tool set to them.